Former Trump advisor Steve Bannon in contempt for defying a subpoena.
No one, and I repeat, no one, is above the law.
This is about whether someone is above the law.
No one's above the law?
No one is above the law.
Mr. Bannon can act like he's above the law.
He is not above the law.
No one is above the law.
You cannot blow off a subpoena in America. You cannot sit on your couch and defy the people's representatives in Congress.
House Democrats and a few Republicans are trying to put Steve Bannon in jail. But failure would be a huge embarrassment for Congress, Biden's Justice Department, and our entire rule of law. Here's why. Meet William P. McCracken Jr. He was the first federal official to oversee the commercial airline industry at the dawn of American aviation. And he was the last person Congress ever locked up all by itself. In 1934, McCracken refused to answer a subpoena from the Senate, which was investigating how a few big airlines won juicy contracts to deliver airmail. The Senate issued an arrest warrant to bring him back dead or alive, and sent the Senate Sergeant-at-Arms chasing McCracken all over D.C. in a bizarre Tom and Jerry-style escapade. But they got him, and the Senate ordered McCracken to a D.C. city jail for 10 days, after confining him for 2 nights in what must have seemed like punishment to a room full of fat cat senators still bursting with last night's caviar, Washington, D.C.'s Willard Hotel, where, I'm guessing, if you misbehave, they take away your ice bucket, and you can forget about room service. Fast forward 85 years, and that same DC hotel, aka the only jail with a AAA 4-diamond rating, is at the center of a crucial test of congressional power, criminality, and political intrigue. Congress wants to know exactly what went down inside the Willard Hotel on the day before the January 6th insurrection, otherwise known as January 5th. Because this is where Steve Bannon held what the House January 6th committee calls a war room, reportedly with other big-time Trump supporters who then went out to rev up the crowd before the shit went down, like former President Trump's goofball TV lawyer Rudy Giuliani.
Let's have trial by combat!
And the lawyer who wrote a legal strategy memo on getting Congress to hand Trump the election, John Eastman.
Hello, America! Sorry, I had to say that.
Side note, a lawyer in a cowboy hat should have been our big clue that things are about to get fucked up. Notorious GOP political trickster Roger Stone paused for selfies right outside the Willard Hotel on the morning of January 6th. Oh, and this guy by his side? Only a member of the far-right Oath Keepers group who was later arrested and charged for his role in storming the Capitol. He pleaded not guilty. What was the vibe like among this crew at the Willard? Steve Bannon makes it sound pretty chill.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. Just understand this. All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. It's going to be moving. It's going to be quick. This is not a day for fantasy. This is a day for maniacal focus. Focus, focus, focus. We're coming in right over the target, okay? Exactly. This is the point of attack we always wanted.
He wasn't just mouthing off on a podcast. He was reportedly on the phone to the president, telling Trump on December 30th, we're going to bury Joe Biden. Fucking bury him. Okay, so specifically, what else were Bannon and co up to with all this maniacal focus, focus, focus? Right before this happened. 140 cops were injured, 5 people died, and 4 Capitol police officers later committed suicide. The House January 6th committee wants details.
The fact that we're going straight to subpoenas with some of these witnesses show you that we're not messing around here.
They've subpoenaed Bannon and lots of others. But Bannon isn't talking, and others might not either. But when it comes to forcing compliance, Congress basically has 3 options. As usual on Capitol Hill, none are that good. But some, at least, have cool names. Option number 1. Congress does have the legal firepower to lock a punk up all by itself, just like it did with that American hero McCracken, thanks to what's known as inherent contempt. Basically, the House or the Senate passes a resolution saying so-and-so should be locked up, and then the Sergeant-at-Arms does it. The practice hasn't been used in almost a century, but it's still technically on the books. In fact, at least one member of the January 6th committee has raised the possibility of dusting it off. Rep. Jamie Raskin, a Democrat from Maryland, said, "We need to consider the full panoply of enforcement sanctions available to us." Inherent contempt doesn't have to mean jail. It could mean taking your money. In 2020, Raskin introduced a bill to give congressional committees a process for handing out fines of up to $100,000 for refusing to answer a subpoena. Didn't go anywhere, though. Partly because the idea of bringing back inherent contempt makes people nervous. Because if the Democrats start throwing people in jail and taking $100 grand from them, the other side will presumably pull the same move when they eventually get back into power. What's more, it's easy to imagine a clash between Congress and the presidency that spins wildly out of control. Imagine, Congress wants the Secretary of Agriculture to testify about, I don't know, cabbage production. He won't do it. So, the House Sergeant-at-Arms rolls out. But the president is like, oh hell no, I can't have my ag man spill our secret cabbage plans, and dispatches his own security goons to protect him. You end up with a bizarre standoff. Guns drawn outside the US Department of Agriculture, which can only end one way. The A-Team was ahead of its time. So then there's option 2. Civil contempt. In plain English, you sue the guy. Theoretically, this works for Congress the same way it works for everybody else. You ask a judge to order the other guy to stop not doing what you don't want and to start doing what you do want him to do. But it takes That's not a country. It takes forever! Case in point. Back in 2012, a House committee subpoenaed former President Obama's Attorney General Eric Holder. The resulting court fight took 7 years. So if Congress started this now, they might be done in 2028. Never mind Biden, the person after him might not be president anymore. We'd have hoverboards and Bannon would still be appealing this lawsuit. Trump has proved himself an absolute master in running out the clock. And Congress is super done with that.
We're not going to wait long. If people are just trying to delay and obfuscate, we're going to move quickly to subpoenas. And as we're showing with Bannon, we're going to move quickly to criminal prosecution referrals when we need to.
Which brings us to the final option. Criminal contempt! This means Congress asks the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia to file a charge, which could bring up to a year in prison and a $100,000 fine. This is the route the committee is actually going. Bringing a criminal charge sounds hardcore, but it's also kind of weak sauce. Because it means asking someone else to do your messy work for you. The U.S. Attorney in D.C. works for the Attorney General of the United States, and the Attorney General works for the President. In the past, this awkward dynamic has created ludicrous circles of spiraling legal nonsense. In 2019, House Democrats approved a criminal contempt referral for Trump's then Attorney General, Bill Barr, which meant they were asking Barr to try to imprison himself. And for some weird reason, Barr didn't feel like doing that. But now there's a new Attorney General, Merrick Garland, and how he decides to play this is a big test for the credibility of the Department of Justice. Garland is already facing criticism from the left for not being tough enough on the more than 650 people charged in the January 6th attack. In some cases, prosecutors have sought probation or home confinement without prison time. Garland has reportedly worried out loud about insurrectionists being radicalized during long prison sentences.
Merrick Garland is scared that these people might become more radicalized? I'm sorry, what's more radical than staging an insurrection?
But if Garland goes ham on high-profile former aides to Donald Trump, he also risks making himself and Biden look hell-bent on doing something they both pledged not to do: prosecute political enemies. Here's Biden on January 7th talking up the independence of the Department of Justice.
More than anything, we need to restore the honor, the integrity, the independence of the Department of Justice in this nation that's been so badly damaged.
Then in October, Biden told reporters he thinks his DOJ should prosecute those who refuse to comply with the subpoenas from the committee. Within an hour, Garland's spokesman said the department will make its own independent decisions in all prosecutions based solely on the facts and the law. Period. Full stop. The GOP is already alleging bad faith.
The Attorney General, Merrick Garland, ordered the FBI to actually investigate, you got it, moms and dads.
What Merrick Garland has done here is he's trying to create out of the FBI some kind of East German Stasi.
He appears to be weak as water when it comes to upholding the independence of the Department of Justice and keeping the Justice Department out of politically motivated investigations.
The question becomes whether public pressure to look impartial will prompt the DOJ to tread lightly, which, ironically, would mean letting politics influence the decision. Refusing to enforce a congressional subpoena would take away the last best weapon Congress has to make its investigations actually work. It would mean there's no good reason to ever comply with a congressional subpoena, because no one's ever going to do anything about it, even when Congress is investigating a deadly attack on itself. Bannon would be getting Congress to admit it's shooting duds. Of course, Bannon has experience wriggling out of criminal prosecution. Trump pardoned Bannon after he was charged with defrauding supporters with a fake Build the Wall charity scheme, although not before Bannon was dramatically arrested on a mega yacht off the coast of Connecticut. Which means that, yes, sometimes the line between real life and sitcom is very, very fine.
Can I say something to my client? Take to the sea!
Time is not on the Democrats' side. Bannon may be calculating that Republicans will take back the House in the midterms and sabotage the January 6th committee's investigation. In other words, this is high stakes. Congress is putting its credibility on the line. By picking this fight, it's giving Steve Bannon a chance to make Congress look weak, make the Biden administration look hypocritical, and make the courts look too slow to settle anything in time for it to matter. Which would be a hat trick for Bannon. If he wins, he could thwack Congress, poke Biden, and undermine the American court system all by sitting there, doing nothing. Maybe he'd like a comfy place to wait. Perhaps a room in the Willard. I hear the room service is excellent.